Iron Stories, Episode 10, Beast. Welcome back to another episode of Iron Stories. There has been a little bit of hiatus, a little bit of a break between the last episode and this episode, but we're back with our two adventures, Jebran and Katania, to make myself a little bit more acquainted again. I think we were on this little island where we sailed to have a look at. It's not clear yet what is there. So there was a sailor that came back from here that found something here, and then there was an expedition which us two are a part of. So let's have a look around what exactly has maybe spooked or piqued the interest of these people to go here to launch this expedition. And I think the last time was that we found this we did arrive at the thing, at this island. We did made camp there, and then we pressed on where Katania was leading, and the voices in her head showed her the way where to go to find this glade, which was inside this on this island. So yeah, and I think we left off where when Katania was just getting out of her trance that led her here, and they're just at the border or the corner of the glade here. So they're now looking at it. So they're all now coming slowly also to the glade here. And I had a little bit of a thought what could be of interest in this glade. So that why did they come here in the first place? And my idea was that in this glade there is a stone monolith, and there are runes carved into it. So it seems to be that this monolith has been here for a bit longer of a time. So there's like roots and grass all over it, moss. So it seems nature has retaken that thing. It seems to be not of natural things, so more or less it has been put here for some reason. But they don't know. So they now, as they get to the glade, they all see this monolith inside of this glade, and for the first few minutes in awe, and then it's their curiosity that takes over, and they are going to investigate. And by they, I mean these other sailors that have come with them to investigate, or to look at the whatever is here, what the other sailor, this fisherman, has seen. And it apparently he saw this monolith. So the question now is, I think that's more or less what I thought about this monolith, but there may be some sort of thing going on with that thing, or why would they build such a monolith on an island so close to or well, close, it's what was it, like a day's travel to the nearest settlement. But I mean, it could also be that the monolith was first there, and that it's not clear if the settlement was first and then the monolith was built and then forgotten, or the other way around, that the monolith was built, forgotten, and then at some point the settlement was built, Lost Crag was built, but that's unsure. So what's for me now to discover is if this monolith has what significance it has. So what I could imagine, so there's like maybe three possible scenarios here. So the first scenario is that it was built by the firstborn. So which would make sense that they had abandoned everything when they saw the Ironborn, or the humans coming into their land, so they abandoned everything. And so it would make sense that the Ironborn would not know of this monolith until now. So this would make sense in this case. And the other thing would be that it was built by the Ironborn. It may have some other reason why it was built. Maybe some sort of ward, maybe some sort of ritualistic thing here. It could go either good or bad. And it would also make sense on why Katania was drawn to it. So maybe it has to do. So maybe there is maybe souls bound to this monolith. So maybe there was like a dark ritual going on, or maybe they did like they did back way back in the antiques, and even before that. Think about like Mayan culture or something like that, where they did human sacrifice to appease the gods. So it could be maybe some sort of this thing going on. So it's in a sense bad, but also in a sense good. So because they try to appease the gods by human sacrifice, which of course is bad, but for them it was a good thing. Well, except if you were the one getting sacrificed, then of course it probably wouldn't be that great. And then it would make sense why there are these souls like screaming, or why Katania could hear these voices to be led to this place. Could also be like a trap at that point. So I think these are more or less a bit. So the first thing is basically, is it either firstborn or is it Ironborn? So is it human build or is it firstborn build? So let's get for that. So this is a 50-50 thing here. Everything greater than 50 is um, Ironborn, and everything lower than 50 is firstborn. So it is higher than 50, exactly 51. So this is an extreme result or twist has occurred. This is like on a match. Okay, that's even. Well, why is it a match? It can't be a match. This I don't get. Why is this a match if it's a 51? On the match, an extreme result or twist has occurred, but it's a 50 and it's a 1. So why is this a match? I don't understand Roll20 here, but whatever. So let's see. Okay, so it is Ironborn. So as they examine or as they get closer, I mean, as Jebran and Katania get closer to this stone monolith, they can just like grab a quick glimpse of it. There's like everybody else is like moving around and blocking it away a bit. I mean, it was not their. It's not their. It's not their job here to look for this thing here. It's just basically more or less like curiosity to see what the fuss is about, more or less. So what everybody else is looking at and why they're looking at it. So they're getting a bit closer to it and also have a look at it, and they can see that the stone carving or the carvings in the stone, they can't read it. They don't know exactly what these runes mean, but some of them look familiar, especially to Jebran, because he's a bit older here and maybe has seen a lot of during his travels at least. He recognizes maybe or he has seen like these forms already somewhere. It could be that these like are old runes that got maybe more or less forgotten, or not many people speak or can read anymore. But they creep up in designs or trinkets that they which are passed on from generation to generation. Like these runes are like passed on by just by tradition instead of by memory. So think about it of like painting a symbol on a shield, for example, and they just do this always, and at some point they just forget why it is that specific symbol or what the specific symbol means, and they just say, yeah, well, my father did that, my father before that did that. It probably means some sort of like good luck or war or whatever, and it's just what I put on, and the original specific meaning is maybe lost just during the ages. And so there's like these symbols creeping up in other settlements. So they seem familiar in a sense that he has seen them somewhere around, but what exactly that they mean, it's just is unclear. So it is definitely an Ironborn monolith here that was built at some point in time, probably a long time ago, since like nature is reclaiming it back because it's overgrown with plant life, etc. They may have stood here also for a longer time or something. So like Jebran is like just getting a quick look at it. As he sees some of the symbols, maybe tells Katania, hey, I've seen that one in such and such. And so he asks them back, do you know what it means? And he says, no, I just seen the symbol. But I don't really know exactly what it means. So maybe, yeah, so that's thing. But I would say this is definitely part of progress for the WoW. I would say this for the expedition, since they brought them exactly where they wanted to go, and it just seems that for the moment it is fairly quiet. So Jebran likes that. It's not much going on. So there's not like somebody hiding or something like that. So he's okay for that. He goes over to Katania and asks her if she could maybe like ask her spirits if they know what this is. And Catania is maybe a little bit reluctant. Every time she taps into her power, it leaves her a bit shaken. It leaves her a bit like disoriented for a moment. Just because it basically strains on her mind, and she's not really happy that Jebran asks her of that. So normally the spirits just overwhelm her at some point, and then she listens to it. She has no choice at this point. But getting asked to do this consciously is maybe not something that she would have done from her own will, maybe. But since she looks up a bit to Jebran, she reluctantly gives in to that request. Yeah, because I think maybe Jebran has a bit of a I would say like he's a bit curious enough that he wants to know what this is. Maybe on the so maybe to an extent on the cost of somebody else. So let's say I gather information with Katania, and Katania is trying to, she like closes her eyes and tries to concentrate on the voices of the spirits that she normally tries to block out, which is maybe like she has to keep up some sort of like concentration, which is very tasking of her to do all the time. So basically what she just does, she is letting go of this concentration, and by that all these voices are starting to get louder and louder and louder. First like there's just a small whispers, and then it just gets louder and louder until she can hear them clearly, but there's like maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of voices just speaking around. And maybe normally it's not that maybe normally there aren't that I mean basically she's just haunted by that one guy, by Themon, which was her first love. So normally she's haunted by him. So that's also how her knife or her dagger works. But maybe in this place there's like more voices, and she already somewhat unconsciously knew that. This is why she had to concentrate a bit more to block out spirits. And there normally are like spirits around everywhere that join in, so to speak, into her mind. But this place seems to be like crawling with spirits, and that's what she also felt when they wandered through the forest the first time around to find this glade. So there's like these voices, these loud voices had steered her directly to this monolith, and they seem to be like originating from here. So yeah, long story short, let's gather information. Let's see here. Yeah, she does that with wits. It adds 1. Okay, so I rolled 2 4s, and my action score is also 4. So I could do a complication here, or I could burn my momentum to get a strong hit. I'd rather, just for the story of it, make it a complication, because I think it's much more interesting. This may be or maybe not an error to do, but I think this role-playing system is more akin to that. So I would say, okay, she gets weak head. So on a weak head, I was under stress. So what is when I fail? That's an interesting thing here. It doesn't say that. Okay, so I would say, okay, she also endures stress here. So let's see. A lot of things happen here. So these voices are starting to overwhelm her. There's like yeah, so like there's like these loud voices, more than she could normally handle. As I said, there's like more, maybe she had maybe encountered maybe like 5, 6 of these voices at a time, but now there's like hundreds, even thousands of voices that are just penetrating her mind, and she like I would say she screams up in agony. Not so much of an injury, but just because there's like a booming headache at some point. So she endures stress, which means so there's just 1 stress here, so she gets down by 1 spirit. And roll spirit or plus hard, whichever is high, which is still spirit. Okay, that's a strong hit. I would say she embraces the darkness to get 1 plus 1 momentum, which is a thing here. But there's like a complication here now. So I would say like what could there be? So so she screams up in this agony, and everybody else is just like stopping whatever they're doing and looking at her. So let's see if I can find something interesting here. Okay, I think I like that one. So, as she screams with in agony, um, I think there's like booms all around this island, and it seems to be hurt by something, and there's like tree branches in the distance snapping off. And the fisherman, you can sense the fisherman is starting to shake. And he says, "It's it's that thing. It's a thing." And they ask him what thing. And then he mentions that this is the thing that he ran away from the first time he was here. And so her screaming must have spooked him, must have brought him here. And one of the guys that was hiring those two guys looks at Jebran and says, I mean, you can see that in his look there is like he doesn't, I mean, the look that he has is kind of okay, you fucked up, so now you handle it. So that's earn your keep, earn your pay, and handle whatever is coming here. We, in the meantime, we probably will skedaddle out of here. So you have you do whatever you do. We're out of here. So as Katania is screaming around, a terrified howl is, well, yeah, howl or roar is heard back, and you can hear a bit of like pain in this howl. It's not. It doesn't seem to be a normal roar from a terrifying beast that you would normally hear. There's definitely look like some pain associated with it. And out of the brushwork, out of this forest, comes a bear. But the bear doesn't look that good. So patches of his fur are like gone, and in its place there seems to be like protruding out of it sort of like yeah, maybe like this crystal rods protruding out of it. Seems to be what looks like iron, and there's like patches all over it. There's maybe like the bear's jaw is as you can see as he roars is maybe a little bit ajar. Just like there's like a bit of iron on one side, it's heavier, and there's like yeah, there's like these patches all over it. There seems to be like this iron seems to be like some sort of seems to be like what could you say, like creating a symbiosis between the flesh and out of it. So that's why it probably roars that with that pain. It's like it's just in there, and the bear doesn't look good. He probably looks more sick than healthy. Probably because there's like this thing out of it, and it seems to be like the bear seems to be like infected somehow by something, and this has like is slowly transforming his skin, his being into pure iron. And the process is slow, and the process is agonizingly painful. And that's what is coming out of the woods and attacking. And the only two people that are standing in its way currently is Jebran and Katania. So I would say Katania, just because she is maybe still still in shock a bit and screamed in pain for that. I would say that she does not roll for entering the fray, so for joining the fight. She is basically in the fight, but has this advantage, whatever that means, and the foe has initiative, so the bear has initiative over Katania at this point. So yeah, and now it is I would say I only roll for enter the fray for Jebran. And let's see, how does this work again? Okay, so yeah, let's do wits for ambushed. Okay, that's a weak hit. So I can either pulse from my position to take 2 momentum or prepare to act, take initiative. I think I'm taking initiative here for Jebran. I think that makes the most sense. He has already 7 momentum. He doesn't probably need that much more momentum. So he definitely is yeah, he's taking initiative. So I think being the veteran of fighting he is, I would say that he is as he has heard the roar, he's already mentally preparing for a fight. So he has already drawn out his axe here, and says, okay, that thing has to go. But he also sees Katania like more or less like in harm's way of the boar, or of the bear, not boar, bear. So he can sense, okay, she didn't see him yet. She's probably in danger. So I think he's trying to aid her first before he does anything. Yeah, I think that's the thing. So he secures an advantage, basically, but he tries to aid. He's like trying to shake her off, or at least get her out of the way when, like, for example, this would like would charge or something. So he tries to quickly go over her and like yank her off the ground and out of harm's way. So like grabbing her by the arm and pushing her off, and maybe even like shaking her a bit to snap out of whatever she is in. Which sounds maybe a bit harsh, but these are harsh lands, so let's actually get it. So take your attention. So he gets a strong hit, which is good. So this means they both have initiative. So she's like, he can see the bear rushing out of the woods, like getting into the glades. As he steps into the glade, he like stops for a second, have a look around to reorient itself again, and then sees Katania and Jebran and takes a plunge or a dash forward in their direction, and in the same time Jebran is like quickly stepping over to Katania, get her by the arm, lifting her off the ground. She is like from the pain fallen to her knees and is holding her head, and he's like grabbing her and like pushing her off the ground and to the side, just as the bear is dashing just past them by just the smallest of space in between them, so like the smallest of and so he's just dashing a part of it, and they both seem to be, and just from the adrenaline rushing in both of in their blood, Katania can get a bit of a grip of herself. And Jebran is like shaking her and get out of it, girl. And she's still a bit woozy or groggy from coming out of her trance as she was talking, but so so she begins so the voices are still around, and these voices she channels on the voices, and in one in particular Themon, and she unsheathes her dagger, and this mystical energy is flowing into her into this dagger, and it seems to be like emanating and pulsing with power. So she uses her keen on that. She's letting the spirits guide her, and Themon in particular guide her her weapon in here. And Jebran, as he's seeing that, it's that Katania seems to be going back into a fighting stance to start or trying to fight here. He seems to be pleased, and is saying "good girl," and this as the bear is dashing forward, it makes a sudden turnaround and stops in its track to move back, and Jebran is already dashing into its position to trying to, with his axe in hand, ram it into the head of the beast, to kill it as quickly as possible. So he moves up, gets into close combat, and is hitting a thing here. What I can do here, for example, I have the Thunder combat talent. So I can suffer a momentum and inflict +1 harm on a hit, which is probably what I want to do since I have 7 momentum. So I do that, and now I strike. And he is like with full force, like he's like even using as he's dashing forward, and he's maybe like chomping a little bit, and with so all of his body weight and all his strength is uh in that blow, so it should connect even harder here. Yeah, and it's a strong hit here. So that means I inflict +1 harm, I retain initiative, and I get another +1 harm from the Thunder Talon. So that's in total 4. So 2 from normally from having a um, um, just from having a deadly weapon, +1 from the thunder, and +1 from the strong hit. So that's 4 hits directly into the bear. And since I think it's a formidable foe, that's not that bad to start with 4 hits here. And he's like jumping around, and with full force he rams it like into the side of the bear. Where you can see there's maybe still some flesh left over, and it's maybe also at the in a maybe in some sort of a blind spot, just because like part of the, let's say, the right eye has also been covered up by this iron that is as growing out of maybe the back over from the shoulder over the back of the neck to the right eye. It has like grown like there, but Jebran can still find, so he could use that blind spot in the bear's view to land that hit, but he's like still able to find a place where the iron didn't do much. He could sense a bit. He could see that this is probably hard and will probably break my axe if I hit into there. So he finds another spot that seems to be still be mostly out of flesh, unless he's plunging his axe into part of the neck, part of the back of the bear. There is like this thick black ooze flowing out of it. It's not what you normally would suspect. The blood, of course, it's an animal, so he would, and he has probably slain an amount of animals in his past, so you would suspect there is like red blood, but he finds that it's like this pitch black ooze just dripping out of it, and he's like taking a bit of jar, and he thinks, okay, this thing has to go for sure. So he has initiative. So now I would say it's as Jebran is plunging forward, the bear is now like a bit from the blow is taken or is shaken a bit. So that means that now Katania also can sprint up and help Jebran as he has taught her and told her. So she is also trying to hit that beast. Maybe she because she's a bit shorter, which is also a bit maybe more riskier. But she seems to be a bit some sort of like in a battle haze and still having the voices in her head. So she's maybe a bit dizzy from that. So she's just like moving like under the bear's head, and is like trying to plunge her dagger right into the throat of the beast to like end it as quickly as possible. So yeah, so she's basically doing that, just trying to backstab, which of course is some sort of like not the best. I think if you miss, you're directly in front of a bear's face, which is probably not a great idea. But hey, so she's doing that. Yeah, and as she's basically like blindly in rage, more or less. As I said, she's more or less blinded by the voices in her head that seem now to taking over control a bit, and she's just dashing forward and trying to hit. So she's also clashing, and since she has activated her keen ritual, she okay. So she just said the keen. She first has to roll plus hard. To see if her keen actually is acting. Oh no, it doesn't. It's a weak hit. Okay, so still get the keen. So I think, which also makes sense that from the overwhelming and in her blind rage, she a little bit is is like letting her voices to take over, which is also costing her quite a bit of mental power. So she endures 2 stress here. She goes to 2 spirit down, and let's see. I don't also have to endure stress here, which is weak hits. Yeah, she just presses on. Okay, so her keen, but the voices, as she lets the voices through, the her dagger is taking over. And her dagger is like pulsing with this mystic energy. There's like I don't know if it's all like has some sort of visible change to it, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's like there's like starting some maybe some runes or some I don't know. It seems to be giving off a little bit of a glow from it, I would say. Not that much like in Lord of the Rings, this bluish things, but I think it's just barely noticeable, but it seems to be showing that the spirits have gathered there to inflict even more harm. So now she's striking and trying to do harm to the bear. And she also does a strong hit, which is nice, which again she inflicts +1 harm. She gets +1 harm on the keen and does 2 damage. So that's another 4 things here. So I would say, yeah, I think this is a good thing. That's rather interesting that this worked that well. Yeah, I think since she made a strong hit here, she makes a decisive action here to end it. I mean, she just plunged her dagger into the bear's throat, and again, as she's like this ooze is dripping out of the throat and even onto her hand, or is starting to. So I end the fight here. Which I think is a progress move. Okay, it's still a weak hit, even with 8 progress. I roll a 9. Okay, so in a weak hit as a move, but you must also choose 1. Okay, it's worse than you thought. Endure harm. You are overcome with your stress. Yeah, I think with the last breath that the bear has, the bear like opens his mouth and like grabs Katania's arm and just bites into it. Since it's formidable, I think it does 3 harm. So the bear just plunges his teeth right into her arm, and there's like yeah, just that. So now Katania also has to do a or harm thing here. Plus hard or plus iron, whichever is higher. Plus hard in this case, which is a weak hit. So Ikichi just presses on. Okay. So yeah, but the bear is toppling over, and it's just dead there, and everybody else is coming back from wherever their hiding place. It was a quick and decisive thing here, but it took quite the energy out of Katania, and Jebran can see that. I mean, I would say even she falls unconscious just from the pain of her arm, where the bear has bitten her, and Jebran is like with his force is like opening the jaws to free her, and she's just hanging there limply, and she endured all the stress from the from the spirits in it. And I think just for just as a quick thing here, Jebran just tries to cover the wound and to clean it off. He maybe has like some sort of ale or alcohol still in his thing. He's just pouring that over her arm just to keep it clean, and is trying to close it off with some cloth to just seal it off as quickly as he can. So let's see. So he's trying to heal here. So plus wits, if he's able to do so. It's a weak hit. If you or the other under your care have the wounding condition, no, she doesn't. If we clear it, then take or give up to 2 health. So she recovers 2 health. So he's back to 4. But Jebran suffers momentum and a supply, which makes sense. Yeah, he uses some of his hard-earned alcohol to like disinfect the wound, and then is like has some sort of bandages or cloth in it, and just pulls it around Katania's arm just to trying to stop the bleeding and to clean it off, because he knows from experience, yeah, being bitten by a wild animal isn't that great. And now he's able to look back at this thing that just came out of the woods and attacked them, and he's still taken aback by just how unusual this beast is. Now you can see more clearly the metal sticking out of its side, out of its flesh, and this black ooze coming out of it. He never seen something like this before, and maybe it was also a good thing to kill it. So maybe it also was some sort of like mercy, just because this beast might have been in terrible pain, so killing it might have also like given it closure to some extent. So that's at least something good that have come out of it. But